Back to Minneapolis, reshuffling leadership in Operation Metro Surge. Borders are Tom Homan holding a press conference after meetings with Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, also with local law enforcement. Here's the Borders are.
We didn't agree on everything. I didn't expect to agree on anything. I've heard many people want to know why we're talking to people who they don't consider friends in administration. Bottom line is you can't fix problems if you don't have discussions. I didn't come to Minnesota for photo ops or headlines. You haven't seen me. I came here to seek solutions, and that's what we're going to do.
All right, joining me now, Aaron Flint, host of Montana Talks, and John Justice, host of Twin Cities News Talk there in Minneapolis. Guys, good to have you with us. John, to you first. How is this playing, having the Borders are in your town?
Well, it's playing very well. I think you already see a change in the strategy, even though my expectation is that the mission remains the same. It's been a volatile couple of weeks, and especially after this, past weekend, the second tragic death that took place, because people keep getting in the way of ICE. Tom Homan's arrival and some of the change in leadership was a welcome change. And I know that this morning, what I heard and what my listeners heard, made us confident that we're going to get the job done here in Minnesota, and hopefully the tensions will quell. And Tom Homan, is the leader that we needed right now to get things, back on track after what has been just an absolutely chaotic beginning to the new year.
Aaron, and I'm curious to hear what your listeners have been saying about this new video that came out yesterday showing Alex Preddy just about a week or so before he was shot, attacking ICE officers. Again, the frustration from our listeners on my national radio show was that Republicans were once again so quick to jump in before they had all of the facts. What say you?
Look, luckily in Montana, we've got a lot of military veterans, a lot of law enforcement veterans, and we know, look, if you haven't been in a situation like that, wait till you get all the facts, wait till you get all the evidence. Todd, one of my listeners out of Missoula, Montana, had a great question. I think you'll appreciate this. He asked me a couple weeks ago, he said, why are we talking about Minneapolis? Why aren't we talking about Memphis? So last week I spoke with Reverend Kenneth Whalum Jr., down in Memphis. He said, you know what, here in Memphis, things are going great. We are so thankful. He said the black community in particular is so appreciative of the surge in law enforcement and National Guard that President Trump sent in there. So Memphis is doing great. He can go out to dinner at night with his wife. He's thanking the Guard troops for being there. Quite the contrast from the chaos in Minneapolis. Our friend there in Minneapolis, say hi to our Montana Democrats, because they're on a who knows who paid for it junket in Minneapolis right now, propping up the fraudsters who ripped us American taxpayers off by the tens of billions. They're there standing in solidarity with the politicians in Minnesota that have created this chaos, that are encouraging this lawlessness right now. And look, we already had ICE in Belgrade, Montana, and it went well. They arrested a bunch of illegal aliens, and they didn't have a bunch of angry, woke white thugs with their whistles fighting with law enforcement. It went over very well. But the Montana Democrats want to turn Montana into Minneapolis, and we ain't having that here in Montana.
Well, Kenneth Whalum's a very good friend of mine here in Memphis, and I can attest to the fact that the National Guard has been welcomed by everybody to that point, John, and my apologies. We're sending our woke leftist representative, Justin Pearson, up, and he's going to be part of that delegation that I suspect is going to cause some mayhem in your city. That has to be frustrating to the law-abiding citizens of Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Well, it's beyond frustrating. They've been spreading nothing but false narratives since this whole thing started. Every single angle that they took on the different events and tragedies, their narratives have just completely gone up in smoke. When it came to Renee Nicole, Good, originally, this was just a mother dropping her kid off and got swept up in ICE operations. No, she was a part of the well-organized and well-equipped group of insurgents that have been causing so many problems. And now you mentioned with that video 11 days ago of Alex Preddy, and we see that he was breaking multiple laws. He obviously didn't deserve to die. Nobody believes that's the case. But it's funny, in hindsight, you look at the commentary coming from Border Patrol Commander Bovino or from Kristi Noem, where they kind of jumped to conclusions, as you mentioned, relating to what this individual might have been doing on Saturday back down there. Well, listen, now that we have more details, they may have been a little ahead in terms of their speculation, but their speculation was correct. This was an individual who already had altercations with ICE. And so we here are sick and tired of the fact that we have ICE agents that simply want to do the job to get the criminals off the street, and they're siding with murderers, with rapists, with drug runners. And I'm glad to see that things are calming down, but it's ridiculous that anybody would come here to continue to perpetuate this anti-ICE mentality, because it's been a disaster from the start. And as Montana's, as the example, it doesn't have to be this way if we had local law enforcement and federal law enforcement working together like in other states.
To that point, we just had Congressman Bean on, great guy, but he's echoing something we've heard from a lot of lawmakers. We just don't have a large enough Republican majority to really do anything, because ultimately, if the mayor, and by the way, the mayor says, yeah, we're still not working with the feds. The governor says we're not working with the feds. Okay, great. Let's just take away their federal tax dollars. It's an easy fix. Just suspend every federal dollar. And yet the Republicans on Capitol Hill, Aaron, they just don't want to do that.
If we don't deliver, we won't have a majority. That's why we've got to deliver right now, especially for these young people who turned out in force in 2024. Look, Todd, I remain so incredibly optimistic for the future of this country because of those very young people. America's 250th birthday right now. We've got a split screen for the future of America. We can look to Minneapolis. Democrats want to turn Montana into Minneapolis. They want to turn Memphis into Minneapolis. That's the chaos and the lawlessness that they brought during COVID-19, that they brought with the open borders invasion. That's the chaos they will bring to America's future. On the flip side, this is not only a distraction that Walz and Fry are creating from the tens of billions of dollars in fraud in the Somali fraud instance. They're distracting from the incredible progress President Trump and the Republican Congress have already delivered. No tax on tips, working families tax cuts and tax relief. And so I think the young people in America are going to see this tale of two cities, and they're going to look to Minneapolis, and it's a reminder of the destruction and the chaos the Democrats pulled over the last 4 years. And on the flip side, let's look at what President Trump is delivering with tax relief right now.
All right, Aaron Flint, John Justice, guys, have to leave it there. Always great seeing my fellow radio colleagues. Thanks, fellas.